Hello, good morning. Welcome to my live stream. It's nice to see some folks coming in. I did something that I don't usually do, and I put the word Taylor Swift in a headline because there's a Taylor Swift concert that has been changing the way I think about data. Or actually, it's shown me how I think about data and why it's really important. I'm going to give folks a couple minutes to get the push notification that we're going live this morning. And we're going to talk about the Taylor Swift concert, why this matters to data, and why I think it could help if you're feeling the summer slump in Substack. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you joining. Come on in, folks. Get settled. It's kind of like story time. Live streams are kind of like story time. At least I like them better that way. Come on in, everyone. It's nice to see you. I'm going to give folks just a couple more minutes to jump on in. It's really nice to see everybody joining. I'm excited to share this with you. I've never written about this. I've never shared it with anybody. I guess I've fiddled with it with a couple of confidants, but I want to talk today. So I see folks are coming in. So I want to talk to y'all about energy. I want to talk to you about energy, and I want to start by talking about the most recent Taylor Swift concert that was on. I think it was on Netflix. It was a special. So it's definitely a special where they've compiled, moments from all of her concerts. And so that someone like me who probably won't go to an in-person concert, but who would definitely appreciate the music, can experience it. And there's a moment like near the beginning where she's Taylor Swift in all her glory and sparkles steps onto the stage as she's walking, and you can hear the crowd, right? The crowd is, the murmur is rising in the room, right? In the concert stadium, it's rising, it's rising, it's rising, and you can see they have set it up so that like you can see lights from phones, you can see it all, and she's taking it in. The whole point of this opening pan of her is that she's taking it in and she is getting ready to perform. But before she starts singing, she takes her microphone. I'm going to scoot back for this part. She takes her microphone and she looks with this little look in her eyes, and she points the microphone at one side of the stadium, and the whole room, the whole stadium side, just erupts into noise and cheering and screams because we know the majority of Swifties are just super enthusiastic. And then she does it to the other side of the concert hall, the stadium. I guess it was a stadium. And then they all respond. And I know she says something about like what they give to her, right? Like what kind of energy they're giving back to her. And it's just, I think she does it 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times, so that there's a quadrant of the stadium that has all felt her pointing her microphone at them. And it's just this super high energy connecting moment where even if you're in the top of the nosebleeds, she's just pointed her microphone toward you. And she's just gotten a signal back from everyone in that stadium that we're here to connect, and I'm here to connect with you one-on-one. This energy, if you've ever sang even just a song to like your child, when they interact with you, there is an exchange of energy where if you are connecting with them. And I have been thinking about energy exchange for a very long time. And And I think there's there's something about writing where I think we are really, really eager to hear from our audience and to have that same energy exchange. But the nature of writing is that you hand it to someone and they get to do what they want to with it, right? They take it, they they have their experience, and if you have an engaged audience on Substack, they might um they might be really active in the comments, and so there's an energy exchange there. But what would happen if you could sit in a room and hear people responding to what you're saying, responding to your writing? I want to briefly share an experience I had where this happened, and I knew it was once in a lifetime where uh, someone, a small theater of people heard part of my story, and they didn't know I was in the audience. Someone else was telling my story on the stage. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Casey Davis, but her big TED Talk was filmed in Denver, and uh, I was one of the people that she referenced as having been really helped by her work. And it's a very personal story. It's a very private story, and I gave her permission to share it. And as she was sharing it, I felt the room's energy coming to me, even though nobody knew I was there. Nobody knew I was the Amanda in that Casey Davis TEDx talk. And that moment also planted something in me about the energy exchange of when we write and who's listening on the other end. Because I think there are a lot of there's a lot of really wise creative guidance around there about putting a wall between you and your audience um, inside writing circles. But in other creative places, the connection with audience is actually the whole thing. It's almost the whole thing, is that you create this thing and then you exchange. You have an exchange with that person. And as someone with a background in marketing and also who is neurodivergent and who pays attention to the signals, I have I have taken the posture that hearing from my audience is actually part of the exchange of publishing. It's part of the exchange. Um, but what do you do, one, if you don't get a ton of comments? What if you have a really you have an active publication, um, but it's also too big? Well, it's too big to sort of, condense down manually. Um, that's what data feels like to me. And I don't know if anybody else has that experience. I have literally never shared this before, but when I look at the data inside a publication, I'm also hearing where you've just pointed your microphone in the stand and what exchange was created when that happened. And I think that the nature of publishing on Substack doesn't have to be inherently lonely if you know where to look and you know how to listen for the moment when you point your microphone toward your readers and say, I'm listening for the exchange back. So to me, that's why data is a creative ally in how we publish, because I want to know when I point the microphone who's speaking back, who's coming back, how are they being moved. And especially in larger publications, this sort of signal patterning is part of how you grow. It's part of how you learn um, what is pulling people in, what's capturing them, what's moving them, and also what's pushing them away. And then you have creative sovereignty to say, okay, the data's saying this, the microphone's giving this back to me. What do I want to do with that information? I think that's something that gets people tripped up a lot about data, is they think that the data is the final word, and that if a certain essay landed wrong that they felt very convicted they needed to publish, that now their whole, publishing plan is blown up, and I just don't see it that way. I see it as a message back from the microphone and deciding if you need to keep pointing the microphone in that direction and wait for the right people to be there to signal back. That's a big part of publishing is whew, uh, having confidence in the story you're telling and the thing you're called to give to people. So I think that I think that's what I wanted to share. This is completely organic. It's just been popping around in my head for quite a while, and I wanted to just share with y'all that um, that with the right information, your data can start um, giving back to you like a Swiftie crowd. That ultimately readers are trying to tell you what they're doing and what they're enjoying and what's pulling them in if you know where to look in the data. Um, so yeah, so I this is completely spontaneous, y'all. I'm going to be really transparent. This is like top of mind what I'm thinking about. I'm at the office today. I'm going to be diving into some data audits and talking with some folks on Voxer about their publications. And I think I think today's stories that I shared are inspired by a lot of the Substack summer slump that folks are feeling right now. Because ultimately, when we feel like our publications are stalling, it's because the signals we're used to hearing aren't showing up like they used to. And so, where do you turn to find evidence of life, right? And also know that it's trustworthy. I was tagged in a comment thread last night, and this gentleman, gosh, I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. Um, he was saying, "How do I know if it's me or if it's the algorithm?" Well, if you're working with your data in a productive way, your data will tell you if your readers are just kind of out to lunch. Folks during the summer change their reading patterns significantly, mainly because the structures they're used to have been pulled away. Summer is the wild, wild west. Um, and so I think that's another reason why I wanted to go live today was just talk about that energy exchange is not inherently bad. And in fact, during a summer slump, the energy exchange is one of the most powerful things that you can be tuned into. And one of the things that I tell folks when we talk about data is that um, comment sections are great. Feedback is great. And I love anecdotal data. It's actually incredibly helpful to create a richer voice to the data. But data tells us what is moving our audience when they aren't being asked to answer a question, when they're just experiencing our publications for what they are. And we get truer insights into the health of our overall publication when we let readers speak back to the microphone like they do at a Taylor Swift concert through the data. So I'm going to. I don't know. Should I open up for questions? I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. This kind of turned into story time and musing and trying to share with y'all this connection that's been nagging me in my head for a really long time um, about how you can hear from your audience um, like Taylor Swift does when she points the microphone at certain directions of her stadium. That energy exchange. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop right now. I'm gonna open up if anybody has any questions about how to how to start, maybe even just start thinking about your data. Hmm. Well, I could ask a question. I'll ask one question and then we'll just wrap up if this is more of a quieter crowd. Are you feeling the summer slump? And how is it affecting you? And where have you looked? Where do you look when you sense that slump? What's the first place you look? So Julie K says, since the data is not that robust versus Google Analytics, what is the most useful data on Substack? So making the CSV file your friend. It's actually I could build like 5 years of a content plan just around the CSV file if I knew it would not bore me to death. Um, but yeah, I can if you learn how to work inside your CSV file and how to query it, it will tell you a lot about your audience. The This month, so every quarter, I do a data audit with my paid subscribers, and I give them a query to do inside that CSV file. And this month, we're focusing on like how to understand where your paid subscribers are coming from. Um, and we just do like one focus in on like I come up with like one query that I like teach everyone how to do and um, try to narrow it down a little bit because um, the what Substack tracks in their data is actually more useful to me from a strategy perspective and a sort of wayfinding perspective than Google Analytics or even like, I mean, I guess, gosh, if I could have like a HubSpot version hooked up into Substack, that'd be my ideal. But yeah, it's a great question. Oh, Julie K asked, do you do this via a poll in an email, a post? Not clear on the mechanism for the query. Yeah, you know what? So it's not a query. So all of your subscriber data is kept inside um, under your subscriber tab. And if you go down and say, there's like three little dots and say export your CSV, you can query across all of the data that they have tracked for your subscribers. And then you can also filter live on inside the actual dashboard. And let me see if I can find reasonably quickly my overview for the data, the spaces in the data that I look. Do, do, do. No, it's not there. Put my archive. Take me a second. I'm looking for a link for y'all that links to. Here we go. So here's the quarterly data audit, and it comes with a template. And this just tells you the places to look on the front facing. And then there's one spot where I'm trying not to overwhelm my paid subscribers by trying to teach them how to query the subscriber CSV section one quarter at a time. Let me share that link to the quarterly data audit. Um, so that's what I'm actually interested in. Um, uh, your audience behavior inside your publication is actually for me that's enough. That's enough right now to run a lot of decisions that you have to make. Um, uh, because ultimately, what Substack is doing is they're trying. I think, well, they obviously are trying to turn um, digital publications into more of like a trust based garden experience. And so what I've been obsessed with for a very long time is just what moves people to action, and how can I know for sure that is moving them to action. And that's honestly what data does for us, is it helps us know at a high level, um, how the Swifties are moving when you point your microphone in a certain direction. So I think this month, yeah, what are we doing? Um, so that was last month. And then, so anybody who's a paid subscriber at the base level gets access to the quarterly audit to do on their own. And then anybody who's a founding member, I host a live publishing lab where hopefully you've done the audit, you've gone through and looked at all of your numbers. If you have questions, that's basically like open up office hours for anybody to come in and just say, like, what's it mean and what should I do? So this is the kind of work that I do offline, um, with on Voxer. So I offer like a week of Voxer support where you can just ask me a question or two each day, and we can volley back and forth. Because typically what happens is most people don't know where to ask the data; they just know where they're stuck. And so I can sort of like help triage for more or less, is this a thing that data might have insight on? Is this an inner sort of creative evolution that we need to explore? And so I like having both tools in my hands, because they keep me sort of grounded in the reality of the mechanisms a publication needs to grow, and then also what I need to creatively flourish. I'm gonna stop talking now in case anybody wants to ask another question. Um, Thanks, Julie. That was really helpful. This might be a good question. How many of y'all are familiar with your CSV file on Substack? Or even just the subscriber tab, of just trying to get some insights into how they're working, um, how they're moving through. I don't know if I can't tell on your end if there's actually a way for you to subscribe. So I'm going to put the subscribe link in here just in case y'all need an easy way to subscribe. Maybe if you push my face at the top. Well, Bob's asked a very interesting question. I think that's something that you'll have to explore for yourself. That is way above my pay grade. Trying to think, what are some other data links I could share? Um, oh, you know what? One way to continue the analogy of pointing your microphone at the crowd and seeing what they give back to you. Um, there's a way in your Substack data to see what I call the here's my email and take my money moments. This is a manual data pull, but say once a quarter, I like to go through and just see on where what is the last link someone looked at before they signed up for free. and what's the last link someone looked at before they signed up to become a paid subscriber. Um, and this data is going to be somewhat spotty because depending on how they found you, if they were, I'm trying to think, if the reader was reading, um, if they were reading inside their profile, Substack can track that data so they can know basically once they sign up, they can pull the data of where they were. So you can see what link they read and then signed up for free. Not everyone has this data because of kind of how Substack tracks it. But here's the link to that post. So this post will show you how to find the here's my email and take my money moments because that's actually really important to know what's moving people to action. The thing about our audiences is that this is a relationship that they get to have a say in, and there are lots of ways to understand your audience and what changes the nature of their relationship. So the first relationship change that a subscriber has is they say, "You're welcome in my inbox," right? Um, you were not before, and now you are. And then the next one is, "I'm going to exchange money for your writing." So that's another relationship change. Another relationship change is if they go from just being a subscriber to perhaps a founding member. Understanding the nature of what moved people to action to change the nature of their relationship with you um, can be really insightful. So I like to share that link with folks so that they can um, uh, go digging a little bit and see, and it'll also give you a chance to see and just kind of get familiar with the things that Substack does track at a individual subscriber level. So I hope that link's helpful. Are there any other data questions I can answer? Have y'all ever felt that exchange like I described earlier in the live stream where you're in a stadium of people and you point a microphone in one direction and you're the singer and they're the audience and they give you something back? Um, have you ever experienced that in your publication? Hmm, maybe not. Maybe folks are quiet. Let me see if I can find one more. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to link. The last link I'll share with y'all is a link to my Substack strategy series. Basically the archive of all of that, because there are really good like data driven experiments that you can use to start trying to understand the signals your audience is giving back to you, because ultimately that's what data is for. From my perspective, from how I guide people, um, data is not for manipulating people, it's for entering into relationship with them. And so everything that you'll find, I'm going to share this link, everything you find inside any of my Substack strategy around data is always centering back to um, and assuming that the reader is someone who wants authentic relationship with the people who are reading their publication, and also want some strategies on how to engage them in this sort of digital exchange. So I'll share a link to that strategy series archive. I think a lot of them are actually most of them are, I think, free. Some of them are behind the paywall. Um, but I'm hopeful that that's helpful so that you can start to kind of think about how you nurture your publication in light of the signals your audience is sending back to you, kind of like we talked about, like uh, at the Taylor Swift concert. I talked about at the top of the live stream. So I I am mindful of the time. I'm mindful of people joining and names that I recognize. Hi, Joshua. It's nice to see you. Um, it's always lovely to see names that you recognize from inside your mutual publications. Um, Today, we're just talking about how looking at the data through a certain posture can help you get relational and energetic signals back from your audience, and how do you hold those well, and um, how do you hold those in light of the need for creative sovereignty and also creative collaboration. So I've shared a few links. I'll share the replay of this later today, where um, for folks who came kind of midway, um, they can reflect. And I'd love to actually hear in the comments for anybody who's watching this later. Have you ever felt that experience of holding your microphone in a certain direction, like Taylor Swift does, and feel the energy coming back to you? And what has that done for you in your publishing experience, in your writing and creative life, um, good or bad? Some folks don't want to hear from their audience. It's actually it's very uncomfortable. Um, but I think data gives us a chance to approach it with um, a mindfulness and a respect for the people who are actually reading your publication. So, if nobody has any more questions, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. I have at 10 o'clock. Um, if you enjoyed any of these like ideas, if anything was planted, I wanted to just mention that I just launched a new publishing support week on Voxer, where we can connect on Voxer. You can send me a question or two each day for 5 business days, and you can just kind of dive in and see what's going on, where you feel stuck. And sometimes there's ideas for data digging that I can recommend, and sometimes it's not a data thing; it's a heart thing, or it's a creative stuck thing. And I usually have a tool in my toolbox to help with that too. So if that's something you're interested in, actually, Um, I'll link to that as well. I'm being a responsible publisher. So this is the link to the Voxer uh, publishing support access. And if you are a paid subscriber, feel free to DM me, because I offer a discount on that as a way to say thank you. Plus, if you're on my list, you've been on my list for a while, I likely read your newsletter already. So I'm probably already interested in what you have to say. So, all right. Thanks everybody for coming to this live stream. This was very impromptu. It felt really good to share with y'all these connections I was making and to talk about listening to your audience through data. All right. See y'all soon. Okay.